Everybody, Mike Uyak here, and got a little something in the mail. This is a Chinese MRE. I think it's recipe 13. It says 13 individual food bags ready to eat, but yeah, there's not 13 of anything in here. I took the liberty of running this through Google Translate. A little better this time. So, according to this on the front, it says, opened the package and developed the General Logistics Department Military Equipment Research Institute, makes sense, to produce Qinhuangdao Food Company Limited. Okay, so that's who made it. I think this is, there's a big 3 on it, so I think this is basically recipe number 3 or meal number 3 of whatever they produce. And it contains, according to this, again, it says 13 compressed dried foods. No. Well, 1, 2, 3, and I suppose if these are 2 apiece. No, it's still not 13. I don't know what they're talking about. But compressed dried foods, sounds yummy, with soft canned meat and seasonings. There's also no can in here. So I'm hoping they mean, in general, when they say canned, they mean preserved. They are small, lightweight, light in weight, and easy to carry, etc. Which are all good qualities for an MRE. So, opening it up, you get more nondescript packages on the inside. So, this, hard as a rock, I'm pretty sure this is the compressed dried food. And then I believe this is the dried beef. This is supposed to be, let's see here, dry food spicy beef. Sure. And the spicy cabbage. So I'm going to say it's kind of like kimchi. The bag edible method to supervise a bag open. Roger that. So, open up first. Ooh, the compressed dried food. It is even more appetizing once you have it out of that package. And it is impossible to open. There we go. Got a little seam. It reminds me of something. There's definitely a soy product in here. There's definitely egg. This is not hypoallergenic, but it's almost a little bit nutty. See if I break a tooth on this. It's not bad, actually. I've had survival rations before that tasted worse than if I just chewed on packing peanuts. You almost don't want to survive. This is not bad. I wouldn't make a steady diet of this. Well, wow. So I think this whole package, because it only gives 1 calorie count for this thing, so I think the whole meal is 5,300 kilojoules. And one moment while I do the math. So, the math says that that's 1,266 calories for this whole thing. So really, since I have 4 of these little bars, and then the spicy beef and the cabbage, which they're small, so they probably don't have that much. You're probably looking at about 250, 275 calories for one of these bars. It's a diet food because you don't really want to eat it, but yeah, definitely not the worst thing I put in my mouth. A little bit nutty. Yeah, there's very definitely a soy component to this. It does list soy protein, and egg and wheat. Specifically, the translation says hydrolyzed wheat protein. Flour? I don't know. But it does have soy and egg protein in it as well. And you can definitely both smell and taste the soy. And the wheat protein, I'm thinking, because that's why it smells so familiar, because I've had stuff with wheat gluten, specifically gluten product, where they'll basically make kind of a dough with just wheat flour and water, and then they'll rinse the dough. Once it's worked a bit, they'll rinse the dough, and what's left behind is just the gluten, and then they'll actually use the gluten in products, often for vegetarian dishes where it's replacing a meat product. It has sort of that chewy kind of meat-like texture, but not bad. So speaking of meat, let's tear open. Oh dear, that is unattractive. And there is no heating packet or anything, so this comes cold with, as I drop it onto the table, sort of congealed fat and spices. Big blobs of congealed fat. Yeah, my wife would not like this at all. It has big goopy globs of fat, which when you're out in the field, you need the calories, you need that energy, but not entirely pleasant. The flavor's not bad. The meat has a little bit of a stringy texture, a bit like overcooked pot roast. It's soft, it's tender, but it's just basically had all the connective tissue cooked out of it. So this has definitely been stewed for quite a long time. The flavor, they listed as spicy. I'm dropping everything on the table today. They listed as spicy. It's not. It's quite flavorful, which is why I continue eating, despite the globs of fat. Right at the very beginning, it almost has a beef jerky-like taste, but then it sort of resolves into almost kind of a barbecue flavor without the spice, or without quite as much sweetness as American barbecue. So I'm looking at the cabbage here, the spiced cabbage. It is definitely sliced up a lot thinner than your typical kimchi. Usually Korean-style kimchi is larger chunks, and this is almost not quite coleslaw. It's certainly not as vibrant in color. Good bit saltier. And not as spicy as kimchi. So they did pickle it. Still a bit of crunch. It's not completely gone gelatinous. It's really salty. You almost need the blandness of this. Help cut down on the saltiness of everything else. But you're in the field, you need at least 1,200 calories a day. I mean, obviously, you really need more, especially if you're actively in combat. But because you can break up your compressed dry food protein brick, they come in four of these little bricks. You can spread that out over the day, and if that's all you had, you could still survive. 1,200 calories is better than nothing. I'm not going to eat all this today. In fact, that may actually be survival rations for when I'm really desperate. But so, on the whole, not bad for an MRE. It's certainly a step above, hardtack and swill. So it looks like a lot of militaries around the world have learned that an army does indeed march on its stomach, and the better the food is, the better the morale is, and the more likely people will continue marching for you rather than deserting and going to look for something better to eat. So I need something to drink. This definitely needed to come with some sort of drink packet. But anyway, that is the Chinese MRE, meal number 3. So please leave any comments down below. If you'd like to see me do more, please also comment and ask me if there's any nations MRE you'd like me to try and track down. These aren't super cheap, so I'm going to try and limit this to just an occasional segment doing these MRE taste tests. But definitely, if there is an MRE you want me to try, point me in the right direction and let me know. And in the meantime, as always, like the channel, like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.